Thank you and good morning. We're here this morning to talk about an issue that has been very emotional for a lot of people in the city and even in this administration. But I want to come to the table this morning with factual data so that we can make some practical decisions, not just emotional decisions. I have with me this morning folks that I have a great deal of respect for and confidence in. And that would be Brad Dick, who is our Director of General Services, and Alicia Minter, who is our Director of Recs and Parks. They have put together in your package an overview of the impact of the decision or the lack thereof with City Council. I've made it public that I was in favor of this deal going forward. As I sit before you today, I am still in favor of that deal going forward, and I'm disappointed, still disappointed that we had inaction on the deal that was on the table. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Brad to talk about the impact, the negative impact from a general services standpoint, and then Alicia from a rec and parks and programming standpoint. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everybody. What General Services Department does is we do all the repair at the parks, park benches, tables, shelters. We do the maintenance, the grass cutting, the weed whipping, and the trash collection in the parks. We have crews that go out to each park, and depending on the size of the park, 1 or 2 crews could go. Our crews are comprised of 5 members. There's usually a driver that drives a tractor or a large lawnmower, and then 4 folks who do smaller mowers, trash picking up, or weed whipping, such as that. I'll take you back a little bit in history here. Permanent staff positions, we have 25 people that work in ground maintenance year-round. That's down from 55 folks 2 years ago. As you know, the city has been shrinking. What they do year-round is, in the non-grass cutting months, they do snow removal in the parks and also the city properties. They still do trash collection throughout the park's winter. A lot of folks still use the parks in the wintertime as well, too. And they do general maintenance in the park still. In the season, the high season, what we have from April to September when the grass is growing and the parks are heavily used, we supplement our 25 people with 40 seasonal workers that work from April to September. Now that's down from 150 seasonals just 4 years ago. Prior to that, 7, 8 years ago, we used to have 300 seasonal workers. So as you can see, there's been some big changes over the years. Total personnel, this is for all the parks in the city, the police stations, and the recreation centers, that's only 65 people. It was our intent to move those 65 people totally into all the parks that were remaining open to better care for them, and to implement a better care strategy for our parks once Belle Isle went to a lease situation. Now at Belle Isle, we have 36 people on Belle Isle alone. You might think it's a lot compared to the rest of the city, but Belle Isle is a very large entity, as we all know. It gets multi-millions of cars and visitors every year. We have 36 people there to staff a 3-shift operation of grass cutting, trash removal, events for family reunions, picnics, cleaning the comfort stations, and doing those kind of works. So after the 65 minus the 36, we only have 29 folks left for the rest of the parks. And you may not get 29 on every given day. Obviously, people take a vacation or have a sick day or have a child care issue, something like that. So, but there's 29 left for the rest of the police, parks, and recreation centers. There will also be another impact upon Belle Isle. We had also had planned on redirecting our maintenance facility staff into the rest of our city facilities. We maintain the fire stations, the police stations, the rec centers, public lighting. We maintain all the buildings, Herman Kiefer Complex. And those folks now have to be redeployed back to Belle Isle. You may not see, but there's a lot of infrastructure things that go on there. Someone has to run the fountains. Someone has to let the water in and down from the lagoons and the lake system there. Someone has to clean the bathrooms. Someone has to fix the lights, the toilets, and those things that go wrong in all the facilities on Belle Isle. So that's now an added burden because we now have to pick Belle Isle back up again from a facilities standpoint as well. In order to do this with only 29 people left to cut all the grass, we've created some new park classifications. We're going to move 19 of our parks to premier parks, and those parks are, I'll give a definition later on, but are all throughout the cities. Those 19 premier parks will have a 10 to 14-day maintenance, which is cutting and trash removal and other types of maintenance cycle. We're going to move 38 of our parks they'll remain open, but they're going to be limited services. They'll be cut on a 25 to 40-day cycle. I'll tell you now, we probably won't be getting to those parks till sometime late in June or early July. You can imagine how the grass may have grown by then. May and June are very busy for us. The Grand Prix, we'll be getting ready for the Grand Prix. We'll be getting ready for the fireworks. And then you have 4th of July. And you can imagine from a ground maintenance standpoint how much work there is and has to do. And I will say our workers are hardworking. They work very hard. They do a great job. I'm very proud of our staff and what they get done every day. We have 17 rec centers left to service and 13 police stations. With the effect of Belle Isle not transferring, we're going to have to close 50 parks. And those parks are across the city. They're in all types of neighborhoods. I've said it's very personal. I've got one around the corner from me. There's one by Alicia. Bob Warfield has one by him. So last night I got a phone call from a friend of mine hearing this was going to happen. She said, "Is my park closing?" I didn't tell her, but yes, her park is closing across the street from her house. It's very personal this time. 50 parks will be closed, in addition to the ones being closed 4 years ago. Next page, the parks that are closing is listed. Closing parks were selected based on lack of community utilization, or lack of park amenities, and or sheer acreage to maintain, or due to the fact that they're in close proximity to a premier park. We may have closed a park that may be nearby a premier park, so at least there's a park nearby for people to go to, where events and family time can be spent. The proposed closures are listed below, and you can review them at your leisure. The next page, these are the premier parks. These are the 19 that are going to be getting the top-notch service. We want to have places for people to go, play, work, and enjoy themselves that will still get the top-notch service. They'll actually be getting enhanced services. Premier parks were selected based on the Detroit Works long-term strategy, combined with the Recreation Department's programming needs, and our multi-year strategy for investing federal and grant dollars for capital improvements. We've been working for the last 6 months with Alicia and her staff and my staff on a multi-year strategy to do park improvements through federal dollars and grant dollars. None of this will be general fund or city dollars. It would come to us. We're going to be investing multi-millions in many of these parks here over the next several years, so we'll talk about that later on. The Recreation Department will also start directing a lot of their programming needs to these 19 parks as well, too. In the past, there were more parks that had programming for soccer, baseball, and events such as that, but now that we can't care for them, we're going to be limiting them to these 19 parks. The limited maintenance parks, and this is also, and it's important to know that 50 are closing. There's also 38 that are moving to limited maintenance. These parks are going to go to a 25-day 40 maintenance cycle, and those are listed below. And that's all I have to say for right now. I'll take your questions when we're done. And right now, I'd like to pass it back to Mayor Bing.
Thank you, Brad. You know, one of the things that's been important to me, to me personally, since I've been in this office, is I have a personal perspective on how important rec centers are. I know how important they were for me as a kid growing up, and I think it's important to a lot of our young people in this city. We closed down several of our rec centers prior to my coming into this administration. The last thing that I want to do is close any additional rec centers. Not only are they a safe place for our young people to go, but more and more our seniors are starting to use those rec centers. We have 17 in the city. We want to try to keep all of them open, and I will have Alicia speak to rec centers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. The Recreation Department's programming and operations will be adversely impacted by our inability to reallocate the $6 million that was dedicated for our Belle Isle operations. So as a result, we will not be able to expand our operational hours at 6 recreation centers, and those are Adams Butzel, Williams, Patton, Coleman Young, Northwest Activities Center, and Heilman Recreation Center. We will not be able to hire key personnel to enhance the programming both in our indoor and outdoor programming for our summer. We will not be able to enhance any of our programs that we would like to for all age populations, but especially the focus on our youth and seniors, as the mayor mentioned. And we will not be able to operate our outdoor pool, Brennan Pool in the far west side and Rouge Park, or do any programming for our neighborhood parks. These dollars were critical to allow us to continue to make a positive impact for the community, and without those, our efforts will be diminished. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. At this point in time, I'll open it up for Q&A.
Mayor, are you angry at the city council over this?
Anger will not solve our problem. So, like I said, from my vantage point, I want to be practical. And there's no doubt in my mind this was the best plan for us as a city. And you can see the negative impact it's causing for GP General Services as well as for Parks and Rec. I'm disappointed that the council did move forward and support this, but we still have to work together. And so, me being angry or disappointed is not going to hurt my relationship there. We need to work together.
Mayor, you've talked to us fairly regularly about the crime issue in the city. As you see these parks and rec centers impacted, what are your fears about a connection, how that affects the safety of the city?
Well, once again, I think we need a safe place for our young people in particular, whether it's during school or after school hours. They need a place to go and congregate. And I think the places for them, without a doubt, are our rec centers. As we integrate the young people with some of our seniors so that our seniors can have some input relative to how people should act, I think that's very, very important. You can't put a dollar figure on those kind of relationships. But I know for a fact when I was a kid and I was in the rec center, there were always adults there. There was always supervision there. There was somebody there to give you a helping hand. We need that desperately in our city. And we don't know the negative impact in terms of dollars, in terms of percentage of crime, et cetera, but we know it will be negative.
Mr. Mayor, a lot of the council people I've been speaking with this morning say they wish that you would have sat down at the table and perhaps treated this more of as a team effort to try to get on board with making this happen the way you wanted it to happen. Do you regret the way that perhaps you handled it?
Absolutely not. Every time we make a decision, city council comes back and says they wish we had done that, wish we had done this. There was a committee comprised of 3 city council people that did all the negotiations all through in the holidays. Then you get one of the key people off of that committee that votes against it. Tell me what kind of sense that makes.
Just to follow up on that, if I could, Mr. Mayor, was the council aware that these repercussions would happen if the Belle Isle plan didn't go through?
I think they were. And once again, they talk about due diligence. Do the due diligence. Here are the key people. Here are the experts that are available. I mean, they're not running away from the problem. They're not running away from council. Go talk to them. We do that. I'm not the expert here, but I surely have a great deal of confidence and respect in the leadership in these 2 departments. We talk. We communicate.
Mr. Mayor, have you talked with the governor? Is the offer non-salvageable?
Not at this time. I would tell you I want to look at every option that's available. I think it is that important. I hear people saying the $6 million is not a big deal based on where we are. Everything is a big deal when it comes to cash. We've been talking about a financial crisis forever. And so when we kind of thumb our nose at $6 million, I think it's nuts.
Has the governor said that he'd reconsider?
Haven't talked to him on that. I haven't talked to him yet. Any other questions?
Mayor, would you support an entry fee at Belle Isle even being run by the city? Is that an option to bring cash in?
I don't think it's a smart option. I'd rather for Chris to maybe speak to that because he's done an analysis on the necessary investment that it would, it would cost.
It would take a tremendous amount of infrastructure, organization, and effort by existing people that are already overrun with work to do in order to accomplish, even if we have the resources in the city, what the state can accomplish. The state is running multiple parks. They're very good at it. They're very organized. They've got the infrastructure. In order to put that in place, we would have to create a new infrastructure. They've got the borrowing ability. We don't have the borrowing ability. We are not well positioned. We are not as well positioned as they are to run a great Belle Park here. They've got the organization to do it.
Even if you had a dedicated stream of money coming in through parking, that would not help your bonding ability?
The dedicated stream that would come at the gate is insufficient to cover all the bonding that needs to be done. And if you use that stream to cover the bonding, you don't have to cover the operations. So it only covers part of the capital, and then you've got nothing to cover the operations, and you've got a tremendous amount of work you've got to do in creating the infrastructure and the organization to accomplish it.
Some of the council members say that they're hopeful that something else can be done, something that they don't quite know what that's going to look like. But they're hoping the governor, you, and them can all come up with some kind of a plan where the state would aid in some other way, not just leasing the island, but rather helping. What do you think about that?
We looked a gift horse in the mouth. You know, we had a deal that was workable, that was doable, that would not have closed parks. Why we didn't act on that, I don't know. We got to stop all of this wishful thinking, all of this pie in the sky. Let's be real with each other. You know, I mean, people want to help. We need the help.
Can someone explain the process of how you selected which parks would close versus which ones would go to limited service?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, we work with Recreation in conjunction. We went to my staff first, my folks who actually do the ground maintenance, and they know where action is and what's going on in the parks. We also went to Recreation, talked about the kind of programming needs they need. We sat down and put this plan together. We based some of it on Detroit Works strategy. We wanted to try to do the best we could to shore up our strongest neighborhoods and not have an impact as much. But I will say, when you look at this list, there are some parks here that are in exceptionally nice neighborhoods across the city that are going to be closed. So we had to look at the next level. We had to cut so deep. We had to look at all levels. So we started with Detroit Works. Then we had to look at the amenities in parks. There are some parks on here that are exceptionally nice parks. In fact, the mayor's in-laws live across the street from one of them. It's an exceptionally nice park, but there's no amenities there for children. It's a pretty green space, and we're trying to focus on kids, where kids can go to at least keep those parks the best. There's two parks that are a block apart from each other. We're closing one that's probably the nicest one. The homes around it are the nicest, but around the corner, it's got wonderful playscapes for kids. So we wanted to keep that one open. And so we tried to take all those things into effect. Detroit Works strategy, what programming events go on there, and also where the kids go and play. And we also tried to select some parks that were heavier work for us. Maharis is a park, for example. It's on the water. It's a great park, but it's a lot of work for us to do. Lots of people go there, lots of trash, lots of grass cutting. We also tried to focus on some large acreage parks that were just, again, a lot of work for us to do that really were large green spaces, but folks didn't go to, but people will drive by.
So what happens to those, you mentioned the ones that are closing, in terms of upkeep or just, with the grass growing, what happens there?
They will look pretty awful come about June, July. They will have high grass, probably waist high. And again, a lot of our parks, it's not necessarily grass. We don't always chemically treat things. It's what's going to become weeds, and it's going to be tall weeds with trash in it, and it will blow in there. It's going to look like vacant lots do, and it's not going to look good. And it's a very personal decision. This bothers all of us, and I'm very active in the city. I know a lot of citizens who live on these parks that are closing. People that have my number, they call me and talk to me. It's going to look very bad.
And if I can add, then this would be the time that we would look for the community to be engaged and to assist the city, because of our limited resources, that they would adopt those parks through those strong communities and have some stewardship and making sure that those locations are cut and maintained, since the city will not be able to do it and have to refocus their resources to other locations.
Mayor, is this a straight $6 million savings? Is that what we're talking about here?
Absolutely. It's a $6 million savings. We can reallocate those funds to other areas, other departments. And, once again, somebody asked a question on public safety, the impact that it's going to have. I'm sure it's going to be a negative impact there also. But I think there are a lot of citizens across the city who had no idea what this would cause for their particular parks in their neighborhoods. And everybody, we can't constantly go and think that our citizens, who are good tax-paying citizens, also have to take care of the parks in their communities. We can't think that the business community is constantly going to take care of the parks. We have a chance to do this ourselves. We didn't do it.
Maybe I misunderstood my question. I meant the savings from the parks. Is that worth $6 million? The cuts that you're making today, the closures, is that a $6 million savings?
I'm sure it is, yes.
A
couple more questions?
I don't want to speak for the council, but I'm guessing somebody's going to stand up and say this is retaliation on your part.
How is it? I mean, it's not retaliation. This is all fact-based. They didn't just come to the table, as Brad has already said, and Alicia, and just pick parks out of the sky. We tried to be intelligent in terms of where it was going to have the least impact. But, you know, if you don't have the money, you can't get the job done. We don't have the money. So retaliate, I mean, to try to constantly put me and this administration in a retaliatory mode against council is stupid. It makes no sense. We need to work together. We have developed a good plan. They had actual amount of time, months, to sit down and get all the information that they needed to move forward with this plan. It didn't happen. And now that it creates this negative impact, everybody's saying, well, you're just trying to scare people. No, this is real. We don't have a choice. We don't have the money.
But can you see where people might think this is just a boxing match between boys here?
I don't know why we keep getting into that. I think that's, you know, that question doesn't even, I mean, it never even concerned me. I mean, I got to do what I think is best for the majority of the citizens here. That's why I supported this. Are you going to satisfy everybody? Hell no. You know, it ain't going to happen. So I don't get concerned about people being mad with me because I didn't do what they thought I should have done. I want to do what I think is best for the majority of the citizens. There was a poll run by the Detroit News, whether you want to believe it or not, where close to 70% of the people that were polled said this is a good deal, get it done, save Belle Isle, upgrade Belle Isle. For us not to do this, this is the outcome of it.
Mr. Mayor, question to you, Mike.
Yeah.
There are already some concerns from users of Belle Isle about the conditions there. Is it possible that the conditions could get worse with these cuts?
Absolutely. I mean, we have historically, we've not done a good job on Belle Isle, not because the people who were there to maintain it, we didn't have the funding to do it. And so it's going to get worse.
Final question.
Mayor, why wasn't this blueprint released much earlier during the debate? This blueprint for the precise plan of which parks should close?
Because we didn't know. We didn't know. We made the assumption that this was going to happen. I mean, this is a no-brainer. How can you look a gift horse in the mouth where we're going to get over $6 million that goes back into our general fund to do the things that we need to do for our citizens? I mean, intelligent people, we all thought that this is a no-brainer, it's going to get done. So we didn't have to look at the negative impact.
One more, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, I know we're here to talk about parks, but is there anything you can talk about in terms of the financial review team, where things stand with that?
No, not at this time. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're done. Thank you.